Uh, Coffee is good. Love coffee. Hey guys, Steve from Pals, Osmo from Osmo, blah blah blah. Um, been wanting to do this for a little while. Adrian is super busy kicking ass and shit. Um, but with my new work schedule, I actually have Tuesday nights off, and there is a quietness now in the my old community and whatnot. But um, channel went in a completely different direction. Hadn't figured it out by now. Channel's gone in a different direction. So Adrian and I are doing the Tide podcast. Try to do it every weekly, but realistically, it's bi-weekly. Where we try to kind of bring our own coast to coast, George Norrie, Art Bell kind of feel. Also, my ridiculous urban exploring adventures. I went to 2 places yesterday that I just finished editing the videos, and I'm gonna release one tomorrow and then one next week. Saw some snakes. Don't really see a lot of those in my journey, surprisingly. But I wanted to go back to having some sort of an interactive show. This is my thing. Again, Adrian's busy, but I have his blessing. So I wanted to have like an old-fashioned, just ghost story type deal where either I'll tell a story that actually happened to me. And the one today is pretty neat, and I've mentioned it several times, but I'm actually going to dedicate a nice little show just for this about a haunted dog, or I'm sorry, a ghost dog, if you will, when I was a kid. If this becomes popular, I can have like one person in at a time just come in, tell their story. Hopefully it's on the more non-fiction end versus a fictional end. We'll just come in here and just make up shit, like, because real stories are actually interesting in and of themselves. And I have my one friend who said that she'd be willing to come on here and talk about some of her experiences, and with enough convincing, I might be able to get my girlfriend in here and talk ghost stories, because she works at Disney, and boy, does some weird shit go on there. She has some really freaky stories from Disneyland, of all places. Actually had something happen to her a couple of days ago, but I'll have her describe it if and when she gets on here. But she has had several weird things happen to her, ghosty related to Disney. So just a once a week thing, probably going to be Tuesdays, because my work hours, I'm actually off at a decent hour on a Tuesday. So before you hop in, again, people aren't really taking too well to the new channel. I don't really care, but would love to get to 1,000 subs. So if you're new here or whatever, just subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter. We do have a Patreon, which you could be the first person I'll contribute to the channel. God, I sound like a YouTuber. And what else is there? Also, check out our sponsor, InfiniteCBD.com. I like them. Any aches, pains, swelling, whatever, it works. Use the promo code TIDE10 for 10% off. So that said, again, I really wanted to have a show for people to come in and watch and contribute, because Adrian and I want to keep the Tide podcast like between us and maybe a guest. But we're very selective about the guests. We're working on a couple people to come in here to talk fun conspiracies and whatnot. Personally, I don't believe them. I just find them interesting. Guilty pleasure. So that said, everybody seems to have some sort of a ghost story, or I mean, using ghost in air quotes here, but some sort of weird thing has happened to them. Some creepy, weird feelings, whatever. I like hearing those stories from people. So this was fitting. This was when I was really, really young. I'm talking maybe second grade for me. So itty bitty me, tiny. And I would stay at my grandmother's house quite often. I mean, I was close to my granny. My granny was awesome, and she lived in just a house, a relatively decent sized house, single story. But it was the creepiest house. Like it was the quintessential old lady house where it was just creepy. Just there's a lot of really old things. The paint was just old. The carpet was old, but I mean not dirty. I don't want people to confuse old with dirty because by no means dirty at all. Just old shit. So so she was super religious. Like she would wake up every morning, she'd read her paper and her Bible and routine every single day. Read her paper, read her Bible. And she would burn the candles and whatnot. And she'd have like her little Roman Catholic this little altar, if you will. Not an altar, but just a shelf on top of this wardrobe. And that didn't make it any less creepy, this house. In fact, it kind of accentuated the creepy factor. Just always having these candles burning in this dark room with the really green Berber carpet, just really weird, like pine green. It just made everything just almost devoid of light. It was just creepy. As a kid, it's creepy. So we've always been a dachshund family. Wiener dogs. Always had wiener dogs. We've had a couple Chihuahua Terriers, but we are predominantly a wiener dog family. Trying to get this to like one. There we go. These are tasty, by the way. So when I was younger, there were three dachshunds. There was Fred, Ethel, and Boo Boo. Fred and Ethel were the mom and dad. Boo Boo was the one that my granny kept from the litter. He was the fat one. He was the fat wiener doggy, and God, he just the fattest fucking wiener dog ever. So my granny was really attached to this dog, and if anybody knows wiener dogs in particular, as they get older, they tend to get like slip discs on their back. They start to have some really bad back problems. So Boo Boo was no different, and it didn't help that he was fat. So there was a point where, as I was younger, when I would go over to my granny's, and Boo Boo was there. His name was Boo Boo, and he would just be howling in pain, like not moving, just on his side, just howling in pain, really heartbroken. My granny was super heartbroken, and this went on for. God, it seemed like it went on for a lot longer than it should have. It maybe 2 weeks. Like just my granny tried so hard to make Boo Boo better, make him feel comfortable. He wasn't getting any better, and he was just that noise that he was making was just awful to hear. So eventually we had to put Boo Boo down. It sucked. I was a kid, but I wasn't really close to the dog. But I mean, it still kind of sucked. And it sucks seeing my granny be super bummed out. So I'd say maybe a couple weeks after we put him down, my granny, I think she called me or something, or maybe I went over there and she told me. I think she called me. She called me out and said, "Oh, Stephen, I saw Boo Boo. I saw Boo Boo." I'm like, "Granny, what are you talking about?" It's like, "Oh, Stephen, I saw Boo Boo." It's like, "What do you mean? Boo Boo's dead." Sorry, we put him down. And she went on to tell me that, and at this point, the other two, that Fred and Ethel, had been, I think we got rid of them. I'm not sure. Like, we couldn't contain three wiener dogs anymore, so we had to get rid of Fred and Ethel. And then Boo Boo was the one that stayed around. So There's no other dogs in this house at the time. So my granny, going through her daily regiment, she would wake up, read her newspaper, read her Bible, and she'd go and put her Bible away on top of this wardrobe. And she said that one day she was doing this, and she felt like a bump on her leg, and she looked down and she sees Boo Boo. And the routine was, after she was done putting away her Bible, reading her paper, and it was usually around 10:30ish, she would go and feed the dogs, make breakfast and whatnot. So, like clockwork, this was the routine every single day. Boom, 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 boom. That was the routine. So she felt this nudge, and she looked down and she sees Boo Boo. And her response was sort of automatic. And she said that, oh, I looked down, I saw Boo Boo. I said, Boo Boo, you wait. No, Mama needs to finish doing a couple things, and then I'll make you breakfast. And then she realized, wait a minute. What? So she looked down, and there was no dog. So my granny liked to, I mean, she liked to tell stories, and there might be a little bit of embellishment in there. And even back then, I was kind of skeptical about it. Like, I was intrigued by it, but I was skeptical about it. And she said that after that day, she would see this dog maybe every other day. She'd just see Boo Boo. Either just she'd be sitting on the couch and she'd see the dog just walking by somewhere, and that was it. Or she'd look and he'd just be sitting there, and then she'd blink and he'd be gone. So she did like to tell stories, and she did like to kind of poke at that inner child. When like your grandparents, if they ever sat and they told you a story from like when they were younger, and it seemed, it's like, wow, like you're so amazed by what they're saying. It was kind of like that, and I think Granny knew that I looked at her that way when she would tell me stories. So she had some creative liberties, I'm sure, with some of the stuff. But this one in particular, I'll get to the interesting part. So I think I went over, like, while all this was happening, within like this week of Granny calling me saying, oh, I saw Boo Boo, I saw Boo Boo. I think that weekend or something, because again, I'm still very young. I think I was out of school or something, or I was just over there for the weekend. And my granny was like, very just like, oh, Boo Boo's here. Oh, I see Boo Boo, and she's doing this, and again, she's doing it to kind of josh me a little bit, because that's just how she was. So I'd be in my room that I had at my granny's, and I'd be there watching TV. Back then it was Pee-wee's Playhouse and Ghostbusters. Sue me. So I'd be there, and I'd hear my granny just out in the living room. Oh, I see Boo Boo. Steven, I saw Boo Boo. And just, she would do this, and just, she'd sing it really creepy like, and just like, oh, saw Boo Boo. And it started to creep me out a little bit. So, of course, I never personally saw anything with this dog. So fast forward, I don't remember so much the time frame. I just remember that this whole thing took place for about a month or maybe two, but when the activity, if you will, really amped up maybe within like the 2 weeks after type deal. So I think I got a phone call from Granny, and she said, oh, Steven, Boo Boo's magnet keeps falling off the refrigerator. Oh, it just, I'll be there, and I'll see Boo Boo, and then the magnet will drop off the refrigerator. I'm like, again, I'm intrigued, but I'm skeptical. So it's like, okay, that's odd. So my granny had, her refrigerator, and she'd have magnets of the different dogs, and she had one particular of Boo Boo, just a magnet, just one of those little picture frame magnets, just up there on the fridge. And apparently it was falling off the fridge. So really weird. Magnets don't normally fall off refrigerators, especially refrigerator magnets. Unless you like knock them or something. I've never had a magnet just drop. If anybody else who's watching this has, feel free to comment. But I personally never had it unless you like tweak it or something. Um, so I have to go to my granny's again. So I go back, and again, the time frame is kind of fuzzy because it was a really long time ago. But there was the first time I was there after we put Boo Boo down when Granny was just like, "Oh, I see him, I see him, I see him," as I'm in the other room, and that freaked me out as a kid. And then the second time I went over was after she told me about this refrigerator magnet that kept plopping off the fridge every time she saw Boo Boo. So I'm there and it's like, okay, well, now we can actually test to see if this happens. Like, I will be there and actually physically see this magnet just falling off the fridge. So now I come in and, I do my routine at Granny's. I didn't have like a whole lot of toys there. I normally had to bring my own, but I was in my mom's old room. And it was a big room. And, I'd just be there watching my TV shows, just being a kid. And I remember distinctly the sound. And like, I remember this. This was when it's like, okay, there's something weird going on here. So my granny was sitting in the living room, and I forgot what happened first. Either she said she saw the dog Boo Boo, or the magnet fell. I forget which one happened first, but I just remember hearing distinctly the sound of a refrigerator magnet just falling on the tile. And that creeped me out. And from where my room was, you had a really long hall, and if you were to look up my room, it looks right into the kitchen. Just straight down the hall, dining room, kitchen. I can see the refrigerator. I can see like that little plot of floor there by the refrigerator. So I remember getting up and peeking out my door, and sure enough, I see a magnet plopped on the floor. Maybe it was your granny just trying to screw with you. Granny doesn't do that. And she was a not so mobile lady, and she couldn't have gotten from the kitchen to the couch where she was, because my granny didn't really move around a lot. She would just kind of hunker down and just relax. So she couldn't have done that. Not in it couldn't. It wasn't her. And I peek out and I see this refrigerator magnet just plopped on the floor, and I knew which magnet it was. So I go, and my granny's like, "Oh, see, Boo Boo's here!" Ooh. And I look and I'm like, "Granny, come here!" And sure enough, the magnet with Boo Boo's picture in it was there on the floor, just there. So I thought, okay, weird. So we put the magnet back up, and I had a small discussion with my granny, because now I'm slowly, my skepticism is dwindling here. Now I'm more in like research mode, like, what could possibly do this? I mean, the screen doors are open and whatnot, but it's a magnet. So I'm now in the living room with my granny, and I think I was watching Ghostbusters. Something with Ghostbusters during this whole thing. I remembered specifically watching episodes of Ghostbusters. So I'm in the living room with my granny, and we're talking about the magnet, and one of us, I forget who, actually says his name, Boo Boo. So within 15 seconds, heard the little plastic clang on the kitchen floor. It's like, well, crap, I'm here, Granny's there. Who did that? So I get up, and of course I scamper to the kitchen. My granny's like shuffling from behind. The same magnet is there on the floor. Magnets don't do that. So I'm really intrigued at this point. So put the magnet back up, and I tested a little bit. It doesn't. It's a freaking magnet. Just try not to oversell it here. I'm just stating it's a freaking magnet. Once it's there, it's there. So go back, and now I'm kind of creeped out. I don't want to be in my room, so I'm just like chilling in the living room with Granny. And we went on talking, and then we stopped. We stopped talking about it. I think more me than her, like, because she already accepted this sort of thing, and she always say that she had like see spirits and whatnot in the house, which again creeped the crap out of me when I was a kid. So some time goes by, and we start talking about it again. And the moment we say the name Boo Boo, we'd hear the magnet fall. Ever seen it? Like, it got to the point where it wasn't entertaining anymore. It's just like, dude, what is this? This is freaking weird. So, and this went on for about a week. There were some days where it was more active than others, but there was a point, and so I went over again. So visit number 3, and I'm sitting there, and again, I'm in the living room, and I remember just having this really defiant just thought in my head. It's like, you know what? If this works right now, then there's a dog that's haunting this house. I remember having a thought like that. Like, you know what? I'm going to get to the bottom of this right now. So I'm sitting in the living room. I think this is when I was watching Ghostbusters, because this is the part that really stands out the most. I think I was watching Ghostbusters. The animated show, the real Ghostbusters, not the one with the chimp, or whatever, the gorilla. So I just remember really defiantly just looking. I mean, I couldn't really look towards the kitchen because there's a wall, but I remember looking like towards the dining area, and I just said, "Boo Boo, hey Boo Boo," just really defiantly, just like, "Hey dog, you know what? If you're really here, do it right now." Then 10 seconds. I can't think of anything else as to what it could possibly have. I'm not saying it was. I'm just saying it was really freaking weird. Because I wanted to, because I already had it going on command, like every time I would say Boo Boo, like it would plop down. But this time it specifically was like, you know what? This is going to be the all for the money. If you're really here, I'm going to say your name, and you're going to plop that magnet. And nothing had happened up until this point in the morning, because everybody's just kind of mulling about. So I'm like, Boo Boo, and magnet flopped. I'm not making this up. So eventually it tapered out. The activity started to kind of wind down. I'd say this whole process was maybe 2 months worth, maybe 3. But the magnet thing only went on for a couple of weeks. And, occasionally it would still do it, but not nearly as active. Like, there's this one like week or so where it's just every single time without fail, it would just flop. Eventually my granny saw Boo Boo like outside, like walking down the sidewalk, and just kind of walking away like he's moving on. And she never really saw him much more after that. Like on the anniversaries of us putting him down, like she would say that she would see him like, here and there, but it like that's about it. Like no crazy activity or whatnot. So anyways, so we fast forward. Now there's a 200-pound dude in a man cave. with some freshly stocked man candy. Oh, don't judge me. Delicious cigarillo I got for really cheap. And we're talking ghost stories. So, what happened to the magnet? This is the magnet. I've had it on my refrigerator now for about 10 years. I've actually had it on other refrigerators that I've had throughout the years, growing up and moving out on my own and all. But this is the actual magnet. It has never dropped. It's never dropped at all from after that moment. This thing has been just on the fridge, just like every other magnet. But this is the actual magnet, where I think I was in first or second grade, me just wanting to be as logical and trying to figure out what's going on, what is causing this, and just me looking towards the kitchen area and just saying "boo boo," and then hear that. This really happened. So that is my haunted dog story, my ghost dog story. I'd never seen like a dog spirit, or at least Boo Boo's spirit. My granny was the only one that saw him. I only knew the incident with the magnet. That's what I was involved in. I have some other really creepy stories from Granny's house, and for the first few of these that I do every Tuesday night around this time, I had some issues getting the hangout set up, but I have some really neat stories, especially weird shit like this. So, and eventually, if you guys have a story of your own, just hit me up and I can have you in here and we can talk those stories. Let's keep it interesting. And boy, wait till I get into Black Star Canyon and just weird shit. That said, guys, I'm going to go and desperately try to avoid Avengers spoilers. Stay tuned for tomorrow. I'm going to upload I'll do the water park. So I'm going to upload the San Diego water park video by tomorrow morning. And then this Friday, we will have the Tide podcast. I believe, I don't know what what topic Adrian's bringing, but I would love to talk about zombie pigs. Zombie pigs. Look it up, because researchers managed to reactivate brain cells in dead pigs. So, spooky. All right, guys, please like, comment, subscribe, and tell me what you think. This is the actual magnet right there. But this creepy little magnet, and actually today, when I woke up this morning, just knowing ahead of time that I was going to do this tonight, I actually walked up to the magnet on the fridge and just kind of stared it down like, "Boo Boo, you there, buddy?" Nothing. So apparently he has moved on. So anyways, guys, that is episode 1 of Ghost Stories. Let me know what you think. Peace out.